Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Second Cup of Coffee. Pastor Tom with you. Week 2 of our series, Does God Talk to You? If you didn't catch last week's series, last week's episode, let me sum it up for you. Yes, he does. Out of John 10:16, and they will hear my voice. If to hear his voice, he has to speak. And for me to hear it, he's got to be speaking to me. So does God talk to me? Yes, he does. This week and the subsequent weeks, we're going to talk about what blocks my hearing, because I think ultimately that's kind of the question. It isn't so much as he talking, am I listening? He said to me, God impressed me, spoke to my heart, whatever Christianese you want to put on it, I'm just going to be plain. Okay, is that all right? God told me, he said, you have to learn to hear me at a whole different level. And so I want to walk you through what that looks like. And the first thing for this week, week number 2, there's a responsibility to hearing. Often we don't hear from God because in the past, we've asked him, he's given us direction, and we didn't do it. We have an old adage around Christianity. If you know some old school Christians, you can ask them, they've probably heard this. If you aren't hearing from God, go back to the last thing that he did and do it. Go back to the last thing he did and do it. Oftentimes in those crossroads, if we choose not to listen to him, then we remove ourselves from hearing. Doesn't mean he's not gracious, doesn't mean he's not merciful. If we cry out to him and say, God, Holy Spirit, I'm asking for wisdom, show me. 2 questions that I ask myself. 1, did I do something that he didn't want me to do? Because that fractures the relationship. Or did I not do something that he wanted me to do? Because that also fractures the relationship. But the core of both of those is obedience. Obedience based on our relationship, not obedience based on the law or based on performance or anything like that, just my relationship. I'll give you a dumb analogy. If my wife says, hey, make sure you pick up milk before you come home, and I forget, our relationship's going to be a little fractured until I go back to the store and get the milk. Got it? Doesn't mean we're getting divorced. Doesn't mean that she doesn't want me as a husband. Doesn't mean there's not love and all of that and grace and mercy, but there's a little bit of a fracture. So before we get too deep into this, John 10:27 says this, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. What does that mean? It means that when he speaks, I'm obedient. I follow him. So if you're having a hard time hearing, go back and say, God, is there a crossroads or an intersection where I didn't do what you wanted me to do, or maybe I didn't do what you wanted me to do? Either way, was it obedience that I missed somewhere along the line? He'll be faithful to speak that to you at some point. It may not be right at that moment, but he will. And let him speak to you, and then go back. Go back to that intersection. Ask for forgiveness, and get back on the follow me. And you'll start hearing at a whole new level. Thank you guys for joining us. Please like us on YouTube and Facebook. Find us on our app, wherever. Share it if you think it'll mean something to somebody else. And we'll talk to you next week.